I mentioned this in a video yesterday, but I got asked to talk about it more. So I live in the Pacific Northwest. I've lived here for over 20 years. You might think it rains all of the time in Portland, Oregon. It doesn't really. It rains for 9 months out of the year, and for 3 months, it's the dry season, and we have very little rain at all. Things can get pretty crispy here in the summer, and the rain typically doesn't come back until the end of September, partway into October. And when I first moved here, I found that a significant change from where we had been living in the Midwest and from my childhood in Texas and before that, Arizona. And I really liked it because summers were fairly mild here. It was nice and dry. There's low humidity. And we still had trouble getting things like beefsteak tomatoes to ripen because the summers were a little bit cool. And yeah, you had to water your garden because it didn't rain for long periods. We had a distinct dry season, and in that dry season, there would occasionally be lightning strikes. There would occasionally be campers who didn't put out their campfire appropriately, or folks who flicked their cigarettes out the window. And we would get wildfires now and then because things were very, very dry. And we can also talk about the ways that we focused on fire suppression techniques historically, and the way that our public lands have been managed and how that actually increases the risk of fire. And there's been a shift to much more controlled burn, trying to prevent a buildup of dead, dry tinder that really exacerbates wildfires. I mean, we could all stand to learn from Indigenous practice on the West Coast. Historic controlled burning for appropriate land management, which actually elevates biodiversity rather than just straight up fire suppression. But whatever, we're learning, or we were before this regime took over and fired everybody. But in the last 10 years, we are seeing, due to increased summer temperatures here in Portland, we have transitioned from zone 8B to 9A. It's hotter. We are living in a climate change reality, whether or not this regime wants to accept that. That is what we are experiencing. So we no longer have a dry season with some wildfires. We have a full-on wildfire season that goes from late June all the way into late October. And if you go south of me into California, their wildfire season goes all the way into January. I have had friends who have lost their homes. I have friends who every summer are on evacuation notice in different places around Oregon because they live in areas that are wildfire prone. They have to be ready to load up their livestock and get the hell out of Dodge and maybe hole up somewhere for potentially days or weeks until the fires are controlled and it's safe to move back home. I am not as much at risk because I'm in the city, but you don't have to go very far outside of Portland to find areas that are high wildfire risk and where people's homes and lives and livestock are in danger. And for any of us in the Pacific Northwest, we all have to experience the danger of really drastically reduced air quality in the summer. A couple of summers ago, Portland, Oregon had the worst air quality in the world for multiple days in a row, and the worst air quality ever recorded in the United States of America due to wildfire smoke, particulates in the air. We are directed to stuff towels around our windowsills and under our doors, and to add box fans with an extra air conditioner filter in front of them to filter any air that is coming in from air conditioning units. We are told when the air quality is like 450, 550. We are told from experts when the air quality is like 450, 550 because of wildfires, sometimes hours away from us, that there is no known safe minimum amount of exposure. And the recommendation is that you don't go outside at all, despite the fact that a lot of people in the Pacific Northwest don't have air conditioning and have to keep their windows open. People have to work outdoors. Right? The air quality today is 38, but when we have wildfires and the winds are blowing all of that toward us, wildfires that can be like up in northern Washington state or can be in California or eastern Oregon, then the air quality can get in the 2, 3, 4, 500s for days on end. So the risk to our communities is not just the fires burning uncontrolled themselves, it is the air pollution that results. And those risks are getting worse and worse every year. Every year for the last couple of years, we hear this is projected to be the worst wildfire season on record. And next year, it will just get worse. One of the things we saw very early on from the Trump regime, Elon Musk and DOGE fired a ton of our Forest Service workers. Now, they have also fired National Weather Service workers whose job it is to not only predict, but monitor lightning strikes and prevailing winds and communicate that to communities and to firefighters, because both of those are really crucial factors in wildfire fighting. Understanding the prevailing winds makes all of the difference in combating these fires. It keeps firefighters safe. It tells them where to go and how to attack the fires. It also directs officials in which communities should be on alert, level 1, 2, or 3, in terms of needing to evacuate. But Elon Musk, through the illegitimate Department of Government Efficiency, and Donald Trump, they fired a shit ton of those folks, making all of the West much more vulnerable to forest fires. But then we heard some reporting like, no, it's okay, y'all. It's okay. We're going to hire back folks. We're going to make sure y'all are covered. But there's new reporting out this week that the Forest Service under Donald Trump had claimed it was fully staffed for what is, again, this year predicted to be the worst wildfire season ever. But the data shows that there are thousands of jobs that have not been filled. There are thousands of vacancies. Today, currently, right now, there are more than 1 million acres burning in the West. I know I've said this before, but ProPublica is doing consistently great reporting. They should be at the top of your list for sources of news right now. According to ProPublica, less than a month ago, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins, she's the one who said, if we have an egg shortage, every American, including people in apartments, should just get chickens and stop complaining. She's the one who said, no biggie about snatching up all of our migrant farm workers. We're just going to take all of those people on Medicaid and force them to work in the fields. Definitely, like disabled Americans, your mama in memory care, she's just going to go replace our migrant farm workers who are highly skilled, highly efficient, and highly exploited in this country. So that Brooke Rollins, she's the one who told us all a month ago that the Trump regime had done a good job prepping the nation for the upcoming fire season. We are on track to meet and potentially exceed our firefighting hiring goals, she said. In an address to the Western states' governors, she said, we have reached 96% of our hiring goal, far outpacing the rate of hiring and onboarding over the past 3 years in the previous administration. The agency is now claiming they have reached 99% of their firefighter hiring goal. ProPublica has gotten access to the data, and they said Rollins' characterization is, quote, dangerously misleading. She omitted a wave of resignations from the agency and failed to acknowledge that many senior management positions remain vacant. ProPublica goes on to talk about DOGE's slashing of the Forest Service has severely hampered the wildland firefighting force, and that according to that internal data, more than 4,500 jobs, as many as 27% of our wildfire firefighting force, remain vacant as of July 17th. That Brooke Rollins was misleading Western state governors when she said that they were 99% hired up for the season. I really encourage you to go read the whole article. And again, I really encourage you to just be a regular reader of what ProPublica puts out. But they say at the end of this piece, it's shaping up to be a severe fire season. This past Monday, federal firefighters reported 86 new fires across the West. By Tuesday, there were 105 more. There's already been criticism. Remember, y'all, it's just July. The fire season goes all the way until the end of October. And already Arizona's governor and members of Congress have called for an investigation into the Park Service's handling of a blaze on Grand Canyon's North Rim. I've said it so many times and I will continue to say it. What Elon Musk did early on this year with DOGE was attempting to wreck all of the infrastructure, all of the components of our government that are meant to serve us, that are meant to keep our society functional. One of an autocrat's goals is to fuck everything up so badly that we have to struggle to have our daily needs met, that we are just barely keeping our heads above water, that all of the systems of support, all of the ways that our society is supposed to serve us, all of the things that our taxpayer dollars are funding, that he dismantles all of those so that it's pure chaos. You can't rely on the government, all of the institutions and framework that you have utilized for years and years to make sure that your community is functional, that you have used as an American citizen to make sure that your needs are met, your community is protected, your household is protected. No, they just fuck all that shit up. It's a bull in a china shop trying to wreck everything so that your head is constantly spinning. You cannot rely on all of the things that have kept you safe in the past. And you are now frantic, you're panicking, you're full of anxiety, you no longer know where to turn. Your basic protection, your basic needs are not being met. It's much easier to control a populace when the government is rendered non-functional and the people are in survival mode. People's homes are going to burn, businesses are going to burn, people are going to die. Everything this regime is doing is causing suffering and death and wrecking the United States of America.